go there. Oh, God. Well, I think I've lost everyone, and I don't blame you. Nothing would work, and I'm not going to have a lot of faith here that this is going to go well at all. That was a complete and utter nightmare. I just got the coloured circle. Hi, Lisa. I just got the coloured wheel going round and round and round. I didn't know if you could hear me. I knew I'd frozen visually. And then I was pressing my mouse, nothing. I had to restart the computer, and then everything just took ages to reload. Yeah, do you know, we've got rain. Hi, Dinky, he made it. Good to see you, Dinky. And Cheryl, welcome. I don't know if I've seen you before. Oh, thank you for sticking around. If I vanish again, I might give up because it's going to take another 15 minutes probably to get it going. I know, Rach, I'm so sorry. That was really not fun. Not fun at all. So I'll stick around and see if anyone else is gonna pop back. Hello, mods. Yes, my lovely mods and my members and my subscribers. If you haven't subscribed, that'd be great. I don't always have technical meltdowns like that. I do freeze now and again, but I thought it was just one of those small freezing moments, you know, when my face freezes, but it clicks back in. But oh my God, no, that was a nightmare. Anyway. Yes, I've got a couple of things. Obviously, it's a year that the Idaho 4. Thank you, CH. I didn't swear for quite a while because I thought you might all be able to hear me. So I did some silent mouthing and cursing. But yeah, good old technology, eh? But yeah, we've had a really horrible wet autumn so far. My garden is just like a mud pit, and the dogs are just bringing all the mud in several times a day. So from Canada, that's great, Cheryl. We've got a Canadian in the house. I haven't been to Canada. I would love to go to Canada. Thank you, Natalie. I know, technical hell that was. And we've got a Brit. Hello, a fellow Brit. Hi, Angel. Well, I'm going to touch words. I think things are moving a bit faster than they were when I started. I even made a point of closing all my tabs down, but I've lost my video that I was going to present to you, so I'm going to have to try and find that again in a minute, because I would like you to just see what I'm thinking about. Hi, Eddie's back as well. Oh God. Oh dear, thank you, Rach. Oh, I'm glad I'm back as well. There we are. Oh yeah, it is almost the 13th. That could be it. It's not Friday though, but yeah, it's kind of that. For me, you know, the murders happened 12th/13th because it was sort of party night, wasn't it? You know how party nights are; they go into the early hours. So yeah, it's not a great night for me on a Monday either, because Sunny has got football and swimming after school. So I thought I would do a year on tonight. So hi, Karma, please. Hi, Lee. Lee, you never tell me if it's Leah. I think it's Leah. Leah. Hi, Leah. If it's not Leah, please correct me. Yeah, so I was saying before I crashed, you know, that it's kind of, oh, that's interesting. Thank you, Mark and Betty. Yes, please hit the like again, because I've deleted the other one. I hope. It's probably still there. Who knows? Yeah, I was saying before I crashed that, you know, it's when you lose people, everything's an anniversary for quite a while, isn't it? And, you know, the people I've lost in my life, you think initially you're like, oh my gosh, this time yesterday they were still here, or this time last week, this time 6 months ago. And particularly a year, I don't know, it's I really feel for the families every day, but tonight and early hours of this morning is just It's almost kind of like reliving it in their heads, maybe. Um, oh, thank you, Joanne. They're actually navy. I think it's the light. The walls are sort of grey, and the and the cabinets are navy. But yeah, it's just the light, I think. Yeah, the first of everything is always worse. And as we were saying before, we've still got so many questions, and I typed up. I wanted to try and get them together, my thoughts, everything that I think is wrong, everything I'm questioning in the case. And I think I got to like 46 and I still haven't finished. Yeah, birthdays, Christmas, Mother's Day, just awful. Hi Vix, good to see you, girl. So yeah, I'm going to show this video. So you are going to have to bear with me again, because I'd managed to line it up ready to play. And I was looking back at the Chronicles of Olivia interview, and I was trying to find something else. I can't even remember what it was now. And there's this section about Jack, which I have mentioned before, but I wanted you to see it because there's something else Steve says, and I'm wondering if you can make out what he's saying, because it's something to do with Adam. There's a couple of interesting things in this clip that I would really love you to give me your opinions on. So while I just find that, I know where it is, so bear with me. Chat amongst yourselves, as a teacher would say. And I'm just going to try and dig it up for you. Okay, 1 second. Right. Present. It's going to be really slow again, I'm sure. Yeah, here we go. Here's the coloured wheel again. Nice to see you, Joanne. Now, Joanne, did you want to be a mod? I can't remember. Anyone who wants to be a mod, you're more than welcome. Just let me know. I know how to do that now. Right. Hang on 1 second. Right. It's all loading. It's all taking its time. I think it's this one. Okay, let me just do that. Oh, I'll make you blue, Dinky.
By this individual, but contrary to that, we're very capable of removing our emotions for Jack, which is absolute love, and just looking at the situation logically, looking at this individual in front of us, looking at.
Right, hang on. Bear with, guys. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to play it. Now, I don't know those of you who've seen Chronicles of Olivia's interview or her little documentary, but the sound was really quite bad anyway, I thought. So I'm going to play it and see if you can, let me know if you can hear it, okay? So bear with me. I'm going to put it on.
The pattern of behaviors of him that we've seen throughout 5-6 years. So I think that a lot of people assume we're blinded by this individual, but contrary to that, we're very capable of removing our emotions for Jack, which is absolute love, and just looking at the situation logically, looking at this individual in front of us, looking at a pattern of behaviors of him that we've seen throughout 5-6 years. So emotionally, and in our hearts and in our heads and in every sense of the word, it's enough.
We did a job thorough vetting him.
I asked him to, yes, like, did he have any scratches? Did he have any bruises? Mm-hmm. He came here immediately after it happened.
He can prove that he had none.
No, I checked his shoes.
Yeah.
I checked his car. I checked his hands.
I took
I checked
photos.
his neck.
Yeah.
He came over in shorts.
Yeah.
Within hours.
And he was happy for Kaylee.
Yeah.
Whether they were, I think they were supposed to get back together. Maybe they weren't. Maybe they were.
The whole
Whether she was moving without him or not, he had
acting about
nothing
getting
but
together.
love.
We went and investigated Adam. Did you tell him?
Mm-hmm.
We went through that whole thing. Adam is about her trying to get back with Jack.
Day
Because they're
one.
roommates.
Day one of this all happening, Jack was right there in the trenches with me, reaching out to people Kaylee had called. Who
He
is
spent
this?
the first 3 nights are on our couch after he came. He could not leave us.
That's why the FBI agent said, Steve, slow down.
Mhm.
We really
Right. I don't know how to. I don't know how to remove the comment. So now what? I'm just going to play it one more time. Let me just. Now I'm not accusing Jack, guys, at all, but there's some things here that are interesting to me. I'm just going to play it one more time.
I think that a lot of people assume we're blinded by this individual, but contrary to that, we're very capable of moving our emotions for Jack, which is absolute love, and just looking at the situation logically, looking at this individual in front of us, looking at a pattern of behaviors of him that we've seen throughout 5-6 years. So emotionally, and in our hearts and in our heads and in every sense of the word, it's not
physics. We did a job
thorough.
vetting him.
I asked him to, yes, like, did he have any scratches? Did he have any bruises? He came here immediately after it
And
happened.
he can
He's
prove that
broke.
he had none.
No, I checked his shoes.
Yeah.
I checked his car. I checked his hands.
I
I
took
checked
photos.
his neck.
Yeah.
He came over in shorts.
Yeah. Right. That is what I wanted to talk about, and I think it's in this one. I've got another video. It might be in that one. I don't want to accuse anybody here. This is just chatting about what they're saying with Jack. Now, they vetted him. They did several checks on Jack, and I don't blame them, but I'm not sure what they did proves anything, and that's my point. So we know that, I think it's Christy who said she checked his neck. Olivia says she checked his shoes, which I think, how is that proving anything? I doubt he'd have worn the same shoes. They checked his car. He lived, a couple of houses down the road. He was not going to be driving there. I don't believe for a minute that if Jack had anything to do with it. I'm just discussing really the Gonzaleses and why they think that he's innocent and their checks. I think, well, car, that means nothing. The shoes means nothing. We don't know whether the perpetrator had any injuries on them. And I also wonder if it was normal for Jack to wear shorts in November when it's really cold. Did he make a point of turning up in shorts? Exactly, CH. He lived across the street. He had no cuts, no bruises. Now, who's to say the perpetrator got cut? This K bar, if it was the K bar that did this, they have a shield on them. We can't say that because Jack's shoes and his neck and his car were clear, that clears Jack. Do you know what I mean? It just seemed like a sort of odd, hi Nonny, an odd thing, an odd bunch of things for them to be convinced it wasn't anything to do with Jack. Now, as far as I know, maybe someone can correct me on this, that Jack's alibi that he was sleeping. How do law enforcement prove that Jack didn't climb out a window or out the back way, round the back of the houses and into King Road 1122, sort of from behind? So say the cameras are at the front or at the side, he goes out of a back window, round the back of the houses where there's no cameras, round the back of 1122 and into the slider. I'm not saying that happened at all, But how does he prove that that didn't happen? And his DNA is going to be in that house. It's going to be in it. Do you see what I mean? I was looking for something else and I thought, well, hang on, I'm not sure how this cleared Jack in their minds. I don't get it.
I asked him to, yes, like, did he have any scratches? Did he have any bruises? He came here immediately after it happened.
He can prove that he had none.
No, I checked his shoes.
Yeah.
I checked his car. I checked his hands.
I took
I
photos.
checked his neck.
Yeah.
He came over in shorts.
Yeah.
Within hours.
And he was happy for Kaylee.
Yeah.
Whether they were, I think they were close to getting back together. Maybe they weren't. Maybe they were. Whether she was moving without him or not, he had nothing but love.
No, I don't know. I can't make this out. It is this video.
Whether she was moving.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of men wear shorts. He would have reasonable excuses for his DNA to be everywhere. Yeah, you're right. It just crossed my mind. Was it normal for Jack to wear shorts? I don't know. I just felt they were being very, very trusting. But then I think Jack was questioned quite early on. But it just struck me that checking shoes, checking car, checking hands doesn't necessarily mean that he's clear. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm not sure how he proves his alibi that he was sleeping. This is more of a law enforcement comment, to be honest. How have they cleared these people so quickly? So this bit now, you guys, sadly I can't do closed captions on a live. But this is interesting as well, because this is where Christy says they were close to being back together. And I just wanted to look at Steve's reaction again. It was like, no. Then he says something about Adam, and I can't work out what he says. So if you guys can make out here what Steve says, or what you think he says, that would be great, because I can't.
Without him or not, he had nothing but love.
We went in.
See.
He had nothing but love.
He says something like Adam believed they were getting back together, or something like that.
They weren't, maybe they were. Whether she was moving without
A bit further.
Hours.
and he was happy for Kaylee.
Yeah.
Whether they were, I think they were close to getting back together. Maybe they weren't. Maybe they were. Whether she was moving without him or not, he had nothing but love.
We went in.
Did you catch that? So Christy says, I think they were close to getting back together. And Steve is, you can see, he knows she's got that wrong. No. And he says, no. And then he says something else. Rach, I can't get it any higher, Sally. Because actually the Chronicles with Olivia video was quite bad sound quality anyway. So yeah, he did live with Adam, Claire. I'm sure he did. Right, how do I play it back slower? How do I do that when it's a screen recording? Hang on.
Investigated Adam. Did you tell him? We went through that whole thing. That was about her trying to get back with Jack.
Day
Because they're
one.
roommates.
Day one of this all happening, Jack was right there in the trenches with me.
I don't know how to play it back slower. I'm so sorry. That's what I think he says, Willow. Adam was thinking they could get back together. Now, the reason I'm playing this is because, is this what Adam told Steve, that they were going to get back together? Is this referring to that?
Proved that he had none.
No, I checked his shoes.
Yeah.
I checked his car. I checked his hands.
I took
I
photos.
checked his neck.
Yeah.
He came over in shorts.
Yeah.
Within hours.
And he was happy for Kaylee.
Yeah.
Whether they were, I think they were close to getting back together. Maybe they weren't. Maybe they were. Whether she was moving without him or not, he had nothing but love.
Adam something getting together. Go to settings and then speed. See, I can do that on a normal video. Let me see. General camera audio. I think I have to do that and play it live, if you know what I mean. So I'm really sorry, guys. I don't quite know how to do it yet. So I'm still in StreamYard training. So yeah, Steve is shaking his head in disagreement. And he said, and I can hear him say, no, like that. And then he says, Adam, something back together. One more time, because I'm sorry, it's going to be frustrating for you.
Within hours.
And he was happy for Kaylee.
Yeah.
Whether they were, I think they were close to getting back together. Maybe they weren't. Maybe they were. Whether she was moving without him or not, he had nothing but.
Adam, something about getting together. So I think it was just interesting to me that Steve is really like, oh, Christy, come on. But why would Adam think they were getting back together? That's the question, in my opinion. Because when you look at the video of them walking along and Kaylee says, what did you say to Adam? And Maddie says, I told Adam everything. That doesn't sound like a conversation about getting back together with someone. I just, it doesn't ring true to me. Doesn't ring true to me, because Kaylee, if she wanted to get back together with Adam, then Steve wouldn't be so adamant, would he? Like, no. And then Adam about getting together. I definitely hear about getting together, and I definitely hear Adam. Hey, Tommy, good to see you. Really nice to see you. And I think A.R. Hayes is in the house. Really nice to see you guys. Thank you for stopping by. Sorry, I'm still thinking about this video, and I don't know. I will go back. We'll bring this up again, because this is still a mystery to me. I just feel that Maddie wouldn't have gone to Adam saying, Kaylee wants to get back with you, with Jack. Jack was right there at the time in the corner club. And I also think Steve's got hearsay. Say, for example, Adam says, we were just saying about perhaps Kaylee and Jack getting back together. And Steve's just believed it. If Adam's got something dodgy or something incriminating to say, he's not going to tell Steve, is he? That's my issue with that. I think Steve was very trusting with what Adam had to say. And it does sound like Adam said, well, it was about Kaylee and Jack getting back together. But would Maddie have actually said to Adam, oh, I just, she'd have said, oh, I'd have said about you getting back together or wanting to get back together with Jack. But it's, I told Adam everything. Doesn't ring true to me. I don't think it doesn't sit right. But that's just my opinion. So yeah, that was my issues with that. I don't know why they would check shoes. That was a good question. And this is one of the, I've got 46, 47 questions that I wanted to go through. Not all of them, but I thought this as well, Joanne. Was there a love triangle? We don't know, because I think I've said it before that, I told Adam everything. Could there have been someone who was cheating on Adam? Could you have said, well, I've told him everything, what she's up to behind his back, that sort of thing. But it could be anything. Hi, Nonny, good to see you. So yeah, I don't know. They're not agreeing. Steve and Christy aren't agreeing, are they? Even in the 48 hours episode. I don't know how to get that off. Let's remove from the stage. Even in the 48 hours episode, Steve isn't fully convinced that Koberger's the right guy, whereas Christy looked surprised. I felt like they weren't actually communicating very well because, hi Lulu, thank you, I made it back. You know, I thought Christy looked really surprised. If you haven't seen the 48 Hours in program, they asked them, you know, do they think they've got the right guy? Or Steve was certainly open to it being someone else or other people be involved. And Christy's kind of, I thought, well, that's interesting. It sounds like they just haven't communicated about that. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't think Adam was about. I don't think so. I don't. But this is speculation, you know. I just, who knows? But what I do know is that so much of this case doesn't make sense a year down the line. Yeah, I think he loves Christy too. I think, you know, I just feel that maybe the oh, sorry, wrong one. 13th now. Yes, it is for us in the UK. Where is it? Yeah, I agree. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying that I felt that they hadn't communicated about whether they thought other people were involved, because Christy did look surprised when Steve was open to it being someone else or others being involved. It was almost like they hadn't had that discussion. So I don't know. I thought it was, you know, just my points were that whatever checks they did on Jack, to me, would not have got him off the hook, checking his shoes and his car and all of that stuff. And also, I think we can get the gist of what Steve says, that it's Adam was discussing that they might be getting back together, which I find odd because Steve doesn't think they were. So why did Adam think they might be? But then people don't tell their parents. People don't tell their parents everything, do they? So who knows really what was going on? I think that's a very good point, Angel. Very good point. Now, I'm going to try and bring up these questions that I've got a year later and see what you think. So I'm going to have to try. I'd opened all of this up before I had to restart my computer. It was all here for me, ready, and it's all vanished. So bear with me, guys. I'm going to find my notes and I will we'll go through some of them. And I think you'll probably have similar thoughts to me, because I think we're all of the same mindset here. So bear with again. Sorry, at least touch wood. I don't know if do you guys do that in the US? Knock on wood, touch wood. I'm not going to freeze again. 1 second. Okay, guys, I'm just going to minimize this. Okay, now, can you hear me okay? And is everything visually all right? Because I'm going to keep it like this for a minute while I go through some of the issues I have. The something's wrong, something's not making sense issues. I've got, let me see how many, 46. Okay, so I'm going to start with number 46 because that is what did Maddie say to Adam. The narrative doesn't go with Steve's opinion and what he thinks Adam, I can't find the right way of saying it. I don't think that Steve's narrative matches what we heard on that street camera. So that I'll leave that there because I've covered it. So I've got sort of a mix of coincidences, things that don't make sense to me, and there's going to be a ton more. 46 isn't even the whole lot, and these are in no particular order. So I'm going to start number 1. Is it a coincidence that Kaylee was back that weekend? That is something that I would like to find out. In the trial, will we find out? I mean, who knows? Are we ever going to find out if there was one target, if it was all 4 that were the targets? But it's in my head, was it a coincidence that Kaylee was back that weekend? Depends on the day for me. One minute I think, well, I at the moment I'm leaning to it being Xana and Ethan being the targets because of what doesn't make sense with their timeline and the different stories surrounding them. So yes, it could be a coincidence that Kaylee was back that weekend, or did somebody take the opportunity because she was back and the fact, she was Dylan's +1. I don't know, and we won't know, but that is something that's on my mind. The other one, which I've mentioned a million times, so I'll just skim over it, is it a coincidence that those who sent the Venmo captioned 3:30 a.m. were at the grub truck? And, if you've seen my grub truck video, I think there's some odd behavior going on. It's certainly obvious they've fallen out. That could just be a separate story. That could be, it could be, I don't feel it's a coincidence myself. I'm really leaning towards the frats / sororities being involved with this, especially with the runners on the band field, what was going on at the grub truck, and the 2 who sent the Venmo that afternoon captioned 3:30 were at the grub truck looking over at Kaylee and Maddie, and there's that girl that comes in, puts her arm around Kaylee while they walk past. I don't know. I don't like what's going on there. And again, is it a coincidence that a Venmo was sent captioned 3:30 a.m. when suspect vehicle 1 enters the King Road area at 3:29? Also, I've mentioned it before, we've got, I think it was Crime Sleuthing, who did phone up the DoorDash company or Jack in the Box, and last orders, I believe, were normally 2:45 with expected delivery at 3:30. So is that a coincidence that this car was circling around from 3:29 and pulls up just after the DoorDash left? That doesn't sit right with me at all. Exactly, Willow. So many coincidences. My number 3, how did law enforcement narrow down the DNA? I know we've got allegedly, I say allegedly because I'm not sure what's going on with this DNA on the knife sheath. I'm still of the opinion it was planted because, of the whole story surrounding the knife sheath. But you imagine in that party house how much DNA was in it. How did they clear those people so quickly with so much DNA in that house? What was it, a case of oh yeah, I partied there Friday night and someone vouched for them, therefore they were cleared? Oh, I always party at that house, that's why my DNA's in there, therefore they were cleared. All the people whose DNA were in that house because they partied there, were they automatically cleared because they partied there? I just think that, how did they get through all that DNA? DM begged Kay to come back to be find his size. I think that's a really strong possibility, Fallon. I really do. And the other thing I thought was odd was that, there's this photo on Instagram. You look at Kaylee's Instagram. I haven't seen Dylan's because she's made it private, but Kaylee's Instagram, there is a photo of her with Dylan on the Friday night that was put up on the Friday night. I always wondered, was that a sign? Was that a sign that Kaylee was home? I don't know. Just speculation. But yeah, I think it's a bit odd that Kaylee came home to be Dylan's plus one that night, I think. But it could have been a coincidence. So how they got through all that, well, this is another thing, Dinky. I don't think they checked. I just don't think they investigated that house properly. I really don't. And you think about all the people who traipsed in there that morning before law enforcement got there. You know, I just think, well, you know, I remember Fry in the first presser being asked by a journalist, you know, all sorts of questions, and he said, well, I don't know, there were other people there that night. And he also said that friends were summoned over that morning and he wasn't sure who. So how does he know exactly who or how many really went into that house? I just don't know. And the other thing that I've got in my notes is that a week after the murders, Aaron Snell stated that they had conducted 90 interviews, 90 interviews in a week. Well, who? You know, I don't understand. Wasn't it in Unharsh you said he wasn't really interviewed very heavily or very strongly? They managed to clear many people in that time. In a party house, I don't know how they managed it. I just don't know. And of course, we know there's the 3 unidentified male DNAs that they haven't bothered looking into. Just haven't done it because they weren't in CODIS. Yet they obviously, if they're telling the truth and there's this speck of DNA on the sheet, they were only interested in that one piece of DNA, in my opinion, and they haven't really bothered with anyone else's, which can't be right. Even if Brian is guilty, even if Brian was involved, shouldn't they be looking to see if other people are involved? Yeah, I don't know about that. And of course, they conducted, this is the other weird thing about the 90 interviews in 1 week. They still managed to get Bethany's timeline wrong. Or did they? Did Bethany change her timeline? We don't know. And they also, a week later, believed that Xana and Ethan were missing after 9 o'clock. So what do they call interviews? You know, how did they interview 90 people but not get the key witnesses' story straight? So that's really wrong for me. That does not make sense. Yeah, so why didn't they know where Xana and Ethan were after 9? We've also got that other Venmo that Ethan paid Jack K, and that was at 11:40 p.m. That's the time I've seen. I don't know what time differences there are, but that was going through my mind at the time because those Venmos came out quite quickly. They were doing the rounds, and I kept thinking, well, hang on, if you don't know where Xana and Ethan were, have you asked this Jack K? Because Ethan paid him something at 11:40. Doesn't make sense. Again, something's wrong. This is a big one for me, and I think Xana's mum has confirmed that there was a fight at Sigma Chi. Is that a coincidence that there was a fight at Sigma Chi that night between Ethan and I think the Davids? I don't think that one is strong for me. I'm more, as time goes on, I'm more and more convinced that has got something to do with this because of the mystery surrounding Xana and Ethan. So if you think about it, Xana and Ethan, there was a fight at Sigma Chi. We've got Xana's dad saying she was home with Ethan at midnight eating pizza. We've got law enforcement not knowing where they were after 9. So why didn't law enforcement believe Xana's dad? That's another question. Is it because they knew something else had gone on? You know, it's also odd, and it's linked, that when the PCA came out, Bethany suddenly saw them at Sigma until 1:45. It's almost like law enforcement, in my opinion, needed to answer that question for the public. I feel that this is the biggest part of the cover-up, was that they didn't know where Xana and Ethan were. They didn't believe Xana's dad, that they were home eating pizza. And suddenly Bethany wasn't home at 1. She saw them until 1:45 and knew exactly what time they got home, as did Dylan. So I can't help feeling that that is very, very close to what went on, in my opinion. Again, is it a coincidence that DoorDash arrived almost at the same time as the white car was seen at 4:04? And this is a huge one for me. This Chrysler, you know, that Get a Clue came out with. Get a Clue has definitely pulled up a different car that arrives at Linda Lane at 3:30. Now, if that Chrysler arrives at Linda Lane at 3:30 a.m., that means it entered the King Road area at approximately 3:29 a.m., which matches suspect vehicle 1 in the PCA. So if we're to believe the visuals of the Linda Lane footage, I do believe the visuals. I'm not sure about the audio. I don't know if that's been tampered with, and I don't hear things that other people hear. So if those visuals are right at Linda Lane, Get a Clue has found this car that is most definitely a different car to an Elantra. You can see quite clearly the squared off windows, and he pulled up this video. It was Gray Hughes who was driving around, and this Chrysler 300 drives past Gray Hughes, and Get a Clue says, "Oh God, that's the Chrysler 300." And it seems to park up, it seems to have a parking spot behind the 1122 King Road house, you know, that car park at the top. So the other interesting thing is the PCA says that the suspect vehicle 1 makes 3 passes. This Chrysler drives around Linda Lane apartments, the car park there, 3 times. So have we got 2 vehicles coming into the Linda Lane car park? Or have we just got this Chrysler entering at 3:29? Are there 2 circling the area? That's really interesting to me, because the other thing is that, you know, we've got this Elantra allegedly, supposedly pulling into Linda Lane car park. We don't see that Elantra before 4:05 a.m. That's when it pulls into Linda Lane apartments, which is a different car to the Chrysler. So is this Chrysler suspect vehicle 1? Is it suspect vehicle 2? Have they checked out the driver of this Chrysler? Have they eliminated the driver? But how odd then that there's 2 cars that are in the King Road area and the Linda Lane apartments area and circling the area from 3:29. Very, very interesting to me. So that's another something's wrong. The other one, another big one, is it a coincidence that Rosendahl was on duty in plain clothes that night? Is it a coincidence that the guy who asks Kaylee for her ID and photographs it lies that he knocked on the front door, lies that there was a noise complaint, is with another member of law enforcement who notices there's no steps up to the balcony? Is it a coincidence that he was on duty that night in plain clothes? That's something that interests me. The other thing linked to that is the police logs. Now, I brought this up in a video. There are never any police logs after, this was the September and October before the murders. I've done a couple of spot checks. I did 1 or 2 in February, and I did another 2, I think, later in the year, maybe April, that sort of time. There is never a police call log after about 3:38 a.m. Then the logs start coming in from about 7:30 a.m. They're not even that common. It's normally about 8, 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. So what, that gap, again, is it a coincidence? Is it that somebody knew that the police clocked off? Is there a change of shift? Someone knew that, and that's why these murders were committed at that time? Is it a cop? Is it a cop that clocked off? I just find that the fact there is never a police log between 4 and 4:30 a.m. ever really bizarre. Again, is it a coincidence? I don't know. The only time I found a police log between 3:38 and say 7:30, even though that's not that common, was Halloween weekend. And I think there were 1 or 2 police logs in that gap. Other than that, none at all. So that's odd to me. We all know the delay in calling 911. There's something wrong with that. And this is another biggie for me. Is it a coincidence that both surviving roommates' rooms were near an entrance and an exit? So you've got Dylan near the slider, and you've got Bethany near the front door. Again, there's no break-in, there's no sign of forced entry. This is a big question for me. Would Koberger, we've said it a million times, would he drive around with his cell? Would he drive around not knowing who was in the house? Would he drive around thinking that he knows how to get in? Would he know that the slider was open? Would he know that the front door was unlocked? But I tell you what, I don't believe he was watching the house, because if that's his Elantra on camera, he hasn't been watching the house, has he? He's been driving around. So, again, a big mystery to me. I think either the perpetrator was in the house, was let into the house, or knew how to get into the house, i.e. knew the front door code, or knew that maybe the lock was broken. I know a couple of people have said they felt the slider lock was broken. So I don't know. I can't confirm that. But again, it's a bit of a piece of luck, isn't it, for a random perpetrator to just be able to get into this house. Another question, why were only stock photos of the Elantra released? It's another big one. Why not release some footage? You know, if they think that, say they had their eye on Koberger, and they think if they released footage of his car, he'd flee, surely announcing that they're looking for an Elantra is going to do the same thing. I don't see how releasing the footage is going to scare him more than them making an announcement that the Elantra is the vehicle they're looking for. Yeah, the other odd thing, why were law enforcement still looking for a sheath? So, you know, in their version of events for us in the PCA, they found the sheath, but in a later document, I think it was the search warrant, they're looking for the weapon and its sheath. I don't know. Another strange one. I can see my coloured wheel is going round again. Hang on to your seats, guys. I might vanish. No, I'm back. Yeah. Sorry, I meant to do that. Right, okay. I think so. I'm not even sure that it was placed there at all. I'm wondering if it turned up in evidence, and then the PCA got written. That's another one of my questions. How can two police officers have two statements in the PCA that are almost identical? I don't know if you can hear the background noise here, but my goodness, it's pouring with rain. I'm just going to shut this door. So yeah, tons of questions, tons and tons of questions. Yeah, Cheryl, I think I'll tell you, this is my opinion. Why isn't he shouting it? Because it's not really the way I would play it. I don't know. I personally think he got brought, obviously he got brought in by SWAT. He got questions, and allegedly after about 15 minutes, he just wouldn't answer any more questions and got an attorney. So he's doing the Fifth Amendment, isn't he? And I think that at what point is he going to shout it? You know what I mean? Is he going to shout it in court? I think the wisest thing, and he will have taken legal advice as well, is to keep cards close to the vest, and just be, well, I'm going to do this my way, or the quiet way, or the Fifth Amendment way. I just don't know at what point he's going to shout it. I do understand the fact that he didn't plead not guilty is a bit of a puzzle. Yeah, that's what I think, Dinky. I don't know. I mean, you look at other cases, I haven't seen anyone shout, I'm innocent, I'm innocent. Excuse me. And this is, hi, Robert. No, I agree. And I got cross at another channel today from someone who should know better. It's all, did Koberger do this? Why did Koberger leave the dog? Why didn't Koberger kill the dog? All of this stuff is just telling the world that he's guilty, and people are just lapping it up. That's what I think. Oh, sorry. Hang on. Sorry, as I go to highlight a comment, they shoot up the page. That's what I think. Sorry, frog in my throat. I think he's doing it as a self-protection thing. I was surprised, though, that he didn't want cameras in the courtroom. I was quite surprised at that the prosecution and the defense didn't want them. Sorry. Yeah, this is true, Sherry. People are still going to make their own minds. I know what you're saying, Cheryl, because if I was innocent, I would really want to be shouting it from the rooftops. But we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. We don't know, if he's shouting it from behind bars. Do you know what I mean? It's I haven't been in that situation, thank goodness, but I would imagine that he's quite clued up with criminology and the law and whatever he's been studying. And I think Anne Taylor knows this stuff. And I think the more you shout, the more you can actually incriminate yourself as well. What else have I got? Yeah, I said, so why are both PCA statements almost identical? That's very odd to me. And again, with the sheath, I've said it 100 times. It was initially next to Maddie. Brett Payne said he saw it later. And it was lying next to her. Apparently the sheath can be seen from the door. Then in another document signed by Dawn Daniels, she actually says it was either next to or beneath. Didn't even specify which. And then later it's come out that it was beneath Maddie and partly wrapped in a comforter. So that's another big question I've got with the sheath. The story's not even straight there either. Why have the FBI lost the notes regarding the DNA? There's no the autopsy notes and the photos from the autopsy are missing. Obviously, they've got autopsy reports, but law enforcement and Mabat attended the autopsy. Now, I don't think that's normal. Mabat said that the autopsy is always done by someone else and she doesn't do those. So why was Mabat and I can't remember who they were now, sorry, 2 members of law enforcement, why were they at the autopsy? And where are their notes? They've lost them. Something else they've lost. There were no body cameras at the arrest. I know that PA don't have body cams apparently, but this was a SWAT team. The FBI were involved. Bit convenient that they didn't have any cam footage. The other thing that was odd was why were law enforcement hammering at the door of Koberger's apartment when they were about to search it? They were banging and banging, weren't they? It was on the News Nation program. And they were like, we're coming in, banging on the door. It's like, hello, he's in jail. And you know he's in jail. So I don't know if they thought that someone else was in the apartment, but surely they'd find out from the landlord. I don't get that. I felt that whole thing was a big show and all that. Oh, we'll tell you, the cameras are still running. We'll talk afterwards. That was so dodgy, in my opinion. It's another something's wrong moment for me. The other thing that I would question is why was Koberger keen to get to Moscow, Idaho? You know, he was very keen to go to a death penalty state, and he seemed to think he was exonerated. He was going to be exonerated, which leads us on to Bethany's so-called evidence that was going to exonerate Koberger. You know, is it a coincidence that the minute Bethany agrees to talk to the defense that he gets indicted by secret grand jury? Boom, like that. I don't know if she spoke to the defense. I don't know if that interview has happened. I don't think we've heard either way. But again, I just don't believe that's a coincidence. I think they rushed that grand jury indictment because they just wanted to bury whatever Bethany had to say. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Was there a 911 call? Very good question. And gosh, can you imagine what this trial is going to be like? It's just going. There's either going to be all these questions just left hanging there with no answers, or there's just going to be some real shockers coming up. I'm not sure, Sherry. Did they actually turn them off? I know that I heard one of them say, "Yeah, cam's still on. I'll tell you later, or I'll speak to you after." Those aren't the exact words, but that was definitely sort of what was said. The Borg, I think she means the 911 call. You know, the midday one, the one at 11:58, where someone reported the crimes to the police for the unconscious person. Exactly, Leah. I don't know. Well, hello. I haven't seen that. What a great name. Bong Barbie and Munchie Maniacs. Now, normally we have Batshit Crazy in, and I think your name is in direct competition with Batshit Crazy for the best name. I love it. Bong Barbie and Munchie Maniacs. I can't think what you're referring to. So yeah, these are all my questions. There's, as we know, there's no victim DNA anywhere. The amount of people who were saying, well, you know, if there's nothing in the car, we'll rethink. I don't think they've had a rethink at all. I think they still believe he's as guilty as ever, despite the fact there's no victim DNA anywhere. Again, according to the defense, there's no digital trace linking him. There's nothing linking him to the victims, which is a mystery considering Steve Gonsalves stated that they were starting to see a link between Koberger and Kaylee, but he didn't want to go into it yet. And that just went really quiet, didn't it? We just did not hear any more about that. Oh, Angel, sorry, I've probably missed that. I'm sorry. I'll have another check. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't know if you're talking about sending me that or someone else, sorry. But yeah, it said, I think law enforcement clarified that, they thought that a victim on the second floor was unconscious and the 911 call took place inside the house. So a lot of people saying they thought somebody was unconscious, they like one of the survivors had passed out outside the front, which meant people gathered round. But law enforcement did say that the call took place from a survivor's phone inside the residence, and they thought that someone on the second floor, one of the victims on the second floor, was unconscious. So that's where did I get to? Sorry, I've got my list here I'm going through. I had to try and write it down because my brain these days is not functioning as well as it used to. So yeah, we did no victim DNA, no digital trace, nothing linking him to the victims. And the other thing I thought really odd in the PCA was, why did law enforcement state that his phone pinged on the 14th of November, but they did not believe that his phone was in Moscow at that time? Now, I thought that was a very specific thing to put in the PCA and a very risky thing to put in the PCA, because in my opinion, it debunks their other phone ping evidence. But there's got to have been a reason why they put that there. It's like they're covering their asses. Yeah, I even wondered if he was teaching on that Monday, if he was in class and teaching and he had people backing him up. He had an alibi for that Monday, yet his phone pinged in Moscow. That's another thing that doesn't make sense. We have got to ask the question, was it a coincidence Koberger was driving around that night at the time of the murders? Or was it at the time of the murders? We're not 100% sure, but when they believed that the murders took place. Was it a coincidence that Koberger was driving around and that his phone was pinging? But my question is, who else was driving around that night and who else's phones were pinging? Because I would imagine there's quite a few of them. I'm sorry, can you hear this rain? I don't know if you can hear it. You're probably getting a really loud background noise. That is rain on my conservatory roof, and it is making a racket. I can't stop it. Stop it, rain. Hang on. The other thing is my conservatory door won't shut properly, and when I try and pull it as tight as it'll come, the dogs open it and come through, and then we get to hear the background noise again. So, right, where was I? Was it a coincidence Koberger was driving around that night? We have got to ask that. Another question, again, these aren't in any order. Why did the prosecution have more time to produce this sort of DNA evidence and this chain of discovery when they've already said they don't have it? That is a bit odd to me. Yeah, it's all I think they've got till sometime in December. I can't remember the date, sorry. I think it's the 10th time the defense have asked for information. They've got till this date in December, where we've all seen Santa, Bill Thompson, stand up in court and say they've got everything we've got. So what are they going to do between now and this date in December? Are they going to fabricate something, or are they just going to check their files to see if they can find everything they've lost? Because don't forget, as well as the autopsy notes going missing, and there's the interview they didn't record. Wasn't there a phone interview with Koberger they didn't record? The FBI have lost the DNA notes. I just don't see how this is going to stand up at trial. I just don't. What have we got here? I've done that one. Again, I think we've got to ask the question, if somebody was obsessed with, say, Koberger was obsessed with Maddie, or any perp was obsessed with one of the victims, what a weird time to enter the house when those cars are out the front, a DoorDash has just been delivered, and that person doesn't know who's in the house, unless it was somebody watching the house and it wasn't anyone in a car at all. I agree, Wendy. I don't get it. I personally think I might be proven wrong very quickly at trial, but I personally think all they've got is this sheath. And it's so sus to me, that sheath. I just don't see how they can, even if they've got footage of Brian driving around in an Elantra, how do they prove he went into the house and committed these crimes? Because if the evidence gets thrown out, which there's a good chance it could, that's what they're left with, his car and some phone pings. And they've already debunked their phone pings in the PCA. Is it a coincidence Brent Kopacker was taken out? Now, I haven't caught up on Lana's videos. I really want to sit down and concentrate on what she's found out about that incident. So, we know that this suspect vehicle 1 went past the coffee house apartments. So that's another question. But also, this is something I thought about it this weekend, because I think you call it Veterans Day and we have Remembrance Sunday, and, remembering those who have fought on our behalves. And that weekend was Veterans Day, and there was a veterans dinner on the Friday night at the Moscow University, in the Moscow campus. And, so many people have said this is military style crime. It's a military knife. I know lots of people have K-bars, don't get me wrong. I'm just asking the question, is it a coincidence that there was a military dinner the Friday night? And also, I've heard on another channel someone saying, well, there was a huge game, wasn't there? It was a huge Vandals game. How do we know that some weirdo freak didn't follow the girls back from the corner club or the grub truck, who'd travelled into Moscow for the game and then just left? I mean, how many cars, I wonder, left Moscow that night? And at what times? There must have been a ton of them, in my opinion. Again, was Buddy a coincidence? Poor little Buddy. I don't think that was a coincidence. Unless there's just another weirdo there who has a cruel streak. Another question I've got is, why would they put Corporal Payne in charge, a rookie cop? That I thought was a really bizarre decision. Why did it take detectives, the homicide detectives, until 4:30 to get to the scene? That's one heck of a delay. Anything could have happened in that house before they got there. I'm sure there was obviously there was law enforcement there. But the other thing I find really, really strange are, I think the call was logged, I've seen it shown as 11:56 and 11:58, the alleged call to 911. 11:56 or 11:58. Cops arrived at midday and all were pronounced dead by 12:02. That, I've seen that timeline. That is a real law enforcement statement. That is very, very fast, isn't it? That cops get there at 12 and in 2 minutes they've pronounced them all, they've gone in and made the announcement or pronounced them dead. That's kind of weird to me. Very fast. Why did law enforcement clear the house so quickly and take the belongings out? When did the bodies leave the property? We've asked that one before. I don't believe that nobody would have caught sight of ambulances, etc., leaving 1122 King Road. That's a mystery to me. Why was there only one latent footprint? mentioned in the PCA and nothing else. This is a big one for me. Why was the trash outside the property at the back there not investigated? It was just left there. It was just left there. It might even still, I think it was there till recently. It was certainly there a very long time. Just the household trash, just left. Truly strange. I mean, the weapon could have been in there the whole time. Unless, what did they not check any of that stuff for DNA? I'm heading now to my last couple. I've already mentioned the unidentified male DNAs. I've done that. Who deleted Kaylee's LinkedIn account? That's another question I've got. Another odd thing that happened. And that is the last one I've made a note of. So there's a ton more. I haven't even got them all down, but those are all the questions. Those are all the questions that I have. Well, that's what I managed to get down tonight. Scribbled them down, typed them up. So yeah, I just don't. It is crazy. It's crazy. There's so many questions, so many things that don't add up to me. Now, I don't know if anybody would like to come up and discuss any of those. You are more than welcome to. I will put the link. I always forget how to do this. Bear with me. Where is my link? Hang on. Invite. I'm going to put it up here for you. Bear with me, guys. If I click on that, I think if I put it here, and then I can do that. See, I know what I'm doing there. I'm always proud of that. I know how to do that. And also, if Dinky is still in the house, yeah, let me see if I can make you, turn you blue. And I think I've done. Are you blue, Dinky? I haven't forgotten. There we go. Yes, if anyone wants to talk about any of those issues, or if they have anything else that, they have questions about that I've missed. Oh, and I did notice, Lisa. Thank you so much. That's really kind. I did notice. And yeah, I'm not doing very well with multitasking at the moment. So thank you so much. That's really kind. Oh, yeah, that would, hang on. Where's that gone? Blue looks good on you. Welcome. Thank you, Natalie. Right, yes, it will. Definitely. And I do want to catch up on all her Brent Kopacker stuff. I did see, I think, half of one, and I didn't finish it. So, yeah. So those are all my questions, and they're all based on fact. They're all, I'm quite careful not to sort of get hooked up in the speculation. Even things like, am I the only one arrested? I will never take that as fact because it came from Brian Entin. So that's hi, American Princess. Yeah, that's another one of my things that I try and stick to. If it hasn't been confirmed, I try not to sort of dig around in it too much. I'm certainly asked the questions. We can't help but chat about some of the speculation and the 4chan. And Leah, I still haven't got through all your 4chan stuff on email. I'm very much looking forward to sitting down and reading that. Thank you, Heather. Thanks. I thought I ought to do a live today as I've been absent for a week. The trolls. Oh, sorry, I keep clicking the wrong thing. Oh, that's a nice question, Lisa. I know Jules of All Trades has bought them, and you know that there's tulips for the girls as well. I think the same place. I can't remember what they're called. I know it's Ethan's Smile, but there's tulips for all of them, and I do think in the spring now I will order them. Yeah, you're right, Pebbles. Jules did, so it'd be really nice to see them. Yay, Eddie's coming up. Hey, Eddie, welcome.
How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I have a list, same
you
as
have a-
yours.
Have you? I bet you've got things on there that I haven't mentioned.
And we have some ones that are the same question as well.
Okay. So can you give us some that I've missed? Because I know there'll be loads. And there's one there that somebody's brought up with Murphy. That's another one.
Well, let's. I have written down. When did the sheath arrive at the crime scene?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it was there. That's just my opinion. I think it might not even have been there at all. It might have been slipped into evidence. It's a big statement, but it plays on my mind.
Another one would be the order that they were murdered.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Did the FBI direct the Indiana pullovers?
Yeah, good question. I think they did.
Did you talk about the 911 call? You know, who was the caller? Who all spoke while on the phone?
I didn't ask that question, who it was. I know that Steve Gonsalves did confirm in one interview that, was it the 48 Hours program, maybe, that it was Hunter Johnson and that he had found the bodies, that he'd found, I think, Ethan and Xana. And that came from Steve's mouth, because he said that Hunter had been quite matter of fact about it initially, and then they both sort of burst into tears, and he did say it was Hunter Johnson.
You talked about Brett Payne interview with Brian, and was it recorded? And pretty much wasn't. I think that's a consensus.
Yeah, I know. It's shocking.
Yeah. So another question about the interviews: was everyone who was present during the 911 call interviewed? Because I guess there was Xana's father and her sister were there as well.
Yeah, because he'd started driving home, hadn't he?
Yeah. So who else, that we don't know of might have been there? That could have been a large group of people. So how did they go about selecting, who would be interviewed and who would not, if there was some that were not interviewed?
Yeah, I'd love to know, because it only struck me. I mean, it is the case that keeps giving, isn't it? Because it just struck me the other day. I was going back again. When you're trying to find one thing, you end up sort of, your attention gets grabbed by something else. And I was looking for Aaron Snell's early statements and interviews, and it was in that my ears pricked up. And it was just 1 week after the murders. He said more than once that they'd already interviewed 90 people. And again, I've said it earlier, considering they got Bethany's statement wrong, or Bethany changed her story, or they couldn't find out where Xana and Ethan were, how in depth were those interviews?
Dave, everybody remembers Dave, right?
Yeah, the student that phoned. Who spoke to Dave? I can't remember. Was it Lana?
Yeah, Lana did, and also Drunk Turkey Show did.
Okay, I don't watch Drunk Turkey, I'm afraid.
Dave said that he was not interviewed, and that the 3 youths who were given a citation for underage at the Banfield, they were not interviewed. And Dave knows no one in his fraternity that was interviewed.
That rings a bell. And how crazy is that? That's just craziness, you know. And I don't think for a minute they will ever find out who was running on the Banfield.
Well, these are some of the. Well, they probably do know that.
You think?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, they know that.
Okay.
So they, you know, that's the thing. These inconsistencies with an investigation. Let's just assume, and we don't know this, but many of us suspect it. If you already know who did this crime, but you have to conduct the investigation as though you don't, right?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
going to be inconsistencies no matter how hard you try to put on this act and go through these motions. So, you know, these 3 students who were given these underage drinking were not interviewed. Would they have been if this was, you know, what you'd call a normal investigation?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think there's anything normal about this investigation at all.
I don't think so.
Nothing. Because nothing makes sense to me. I'm no expert. Most of us, thank you so much, Dinky. That's really kind. Yeah,
Did-
there's nothing about this. We're all Joe Blogs on the street. I know some of us have got law experience, but at the end of the day, every one of us could be a juror. And these are questions as a juror that I'd be asking and I'd be wanting answers for. And, you know, that's the way we've got to think, I think. You know, if I were on a jury, I'd want to know all this stuff.
Yeah, that last one that we did there is kind of a thought experiment. That's, you know, for those who are thinking outside the box. These ones that are taking the PCA as gospel, you know, they take it literal. It seems like they're blindly following the narrative that they're being fed. You know, so such as, you know, Brian Kohlberger did it in 8 minutes, and they I don't think they'll ever see outside of that, and I don't know what type of evidence it's going to take to get them to see that it is not the case. If in fact it is not the case, we don't know.
No.
But, you know, in general, when faced with a choice between changing one's mind and looking for reasons why not to, most prefer to look for reasons.
Well, yeah, and those are the people who should be on juries, because, like, I think you brought it up last time, Eddie, you know, about the people who come in onto our channels and, you know, really get angry with us and sort of troll us for asking questions. You know, most of us don't flat out say he's innocent, we're pro Kohlberger. We're just asking the questions that don't make sense to us. You know, we want answers for things that don't add up. And I think that's healthy, especially when someone's facing a firing squad.
So, you know, the difference is that we don't go onto those channels and are really hyper concerned as to what they're saying. What would explain that? And the answer that I come up with time and again is they're not convinced with what they believe. And they want affirmation. They want people to echo what they're saying. Now, you know, just because someone echoes something that you're saying doesn't make it true.
No.
Here's another interesting quote, but, you know, regarding Russian roulette, 5 out of 6 players claim it is a safe, exciting game.
I think they're the same people, you know, who all said that there'd be evidence in the car. And if there was no evidence in that car, then they would reconsider. But I don't think any of them have. I think they're clinging onto the knife sheath now, and that's it. But so many people I saw in comments and chats, if there's no evidence in the car, then I'll possibly change my mind or question further at least. And I don't believe they did. I just think are they lazy as well? Do they want to believe that same in the UK, that law enforcement, where would they be if they didn't trust law enforcement? And it frightens them, maybe. I don't know.
At this point, it's like we either have to believe that somebody knows something, or nobody knows anything. We're just blissfully ignorant. The two surviving roommates, they don't know anything. There was no witnesses. And it's this single lone, I don't know, angry person that did it.
Yeah.
But there's no motive. That just doesn't happen. So
Yeah.
somebody knows something. And to believe that it's Brian Kober is ridiculous at this point. What more do they have? What are they going to show? There's no witness. They're not going to be able to bring about a witness. There's not going to be a video of him doing it. What is it that they have? That's so much more.
Well, as Bill Thompson said, they've got everything we've got. And that worries me, that they've now got this extension to produce more stuff. And but they've already said they've handed everything over. So what's this extension really about? I don't understand that.
Right. They are now, the FBI went back into the house to look, and they're testing for new stuff. That's really interesting. They got documentation to construct visual and audio exhibits and a physical model of the home.
And the house should have been torn down by now if they had their way.
Right. What is the difference between the first go around, when they took these scans after the murders, and the weeks or months after the murders, and the ones that they did a year later or thereabouts?
Well, I can't remember which creator said it, but they asked, have they lost that as well? Have they lost all the original stuff they've done? I can't think of another reason, because the house has apparently been stripped, hasn't it?
Right. And the floorboards, like what floorboards? I just wonder if any of the floorboards were in like the common areas or the hallway, such as the living room on that second floor.
Yeah. I mean,
we could see the bedroom of Ethan and Xana, right? Possibly.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Is
also
that why they don't want?
Sorry, go ahead.
That's all right. I was just gonna say, is that why they don't want anyone to see?
There's something going on with this model, isn't there? Because when is this house supposed to be pulled down? I've lost track of that. Because I know, wasn't there supposed to be dangerous substances and asbestos, maybe something like that in there, which is why they had to delay it. And yet they've all gone in there with no protective clothing on, and they're building this model. Is it possibly because if the house is still standing for the trial, would this model prevent the jury from walking around the house? Is it their way of sort of stopping them entering the property by showing them?
Yeah, that to say that it's got hazardous asbestos or whatever, lead, I forget what, but that's a manipulation. That's just to force your will, because they wanted it torn down prior. But I think it was August. I'm sorry. I think it was the 23rd of. Yeah, it was August. It was the 23rd of August when Brian Kohlberger waived his right to a speedy trial, but they didn't go into that house the second time around to do these 3D imaging until it was right around Halloween. So why the delay from 23rd of August to that time? Well, that was the time of the hearing, the closed hearing for
Okay.
the motion to the grand jury, motion to dismiss the grand jury. So I wonder what prompted the FBI to go into that house.
Oh, so many questions. I couldn't even begin to guess. Can you?
Well, just as long as they present it to the jury. When so much time passes by, they could easily just take what they found in the second go round and present it to the jury as, this is what the house showed when it was, examined by our investigators. No, time out. That's what it showed when you investigated it the second go around. Show the contrast of what your findings were in the first search of the home, and then show the contrast of what you found the second time around, a year later, nearly.
Yeah, show both.
Show both.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because I'm curious, let me guess, you found the knife, or you found the Koberger coat of arms. He accidentally dropped it, and you never saw it the first time. It fell between the baseboard and the wall, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's odd. It's odd behavior, isn't it? And again, the cowboys, that went in and left again. That's another question. Who were they? Why were they looking down? Why were they so secretive almost?
Yeah, we'll never know that.
No.
We'll never know who they are or what business they had in there, but for sure law enforcement, Moscow Police Department knew what they were doing, because when Nancy Lou called the MPD, they didn't even answer or pick up their phone.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. She called.
Nancy Lou. Sorry, who's Nancy Lou? Have I lost?
Oh, I think she's with NBC. She was a reporter
Okay.
on the scene December 8th when they were there.
Oh, yes, you're right. Yes, that's right. And they wouldn't speak to her because she was there when they walked in and walked out as well, wasn't she?
That's right.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, and she didn't know what was going on or who they were, so she called MPD and no answer.
Yeah, they must have known, because they're not going to just let anyone walk in and out, are they?
Right. They had the keys to the place. I mean, they're in charge of the place. MPD is, they're small potatoes.
Yeah, true. Yeah. I struggle with there being an entrance to a tunnel in the house, I have to say. I struggle with that theory.
I struggle too. I'm not doing the tunnel.
Well, somebody said that they believed the tunnel was on the third floor in Maddie's room. And I thought, but it's on the third floor. How does the tunnel go from Maddie's room? I'm just not buying the tunnel theory. I might be completely wrong, but that's something I can't get my head around. So I'm not asking questions about tunnels, although I respect other people's opinions, but it's not for me. Excuse me. If I were right now to pick my closest theory as to what happened, it would be frats. It would be the argument that kicked off in Sigma that continued, and I think it was a rage killing. I don't think it was a stranger, but that's where I'm at.
When it comes to who did it, no matter what, they know who did it. See, that's the thing. When we hypothesize, such as, it's someone in the frats that did it, that goes hand in hand with, okay, so maybe they did it, but that then means that law enforcement knows that they did it.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
not just like they are in earnest that they think Brian Kohlberger did this. See, when there's a framing, there has to be a cover up. They're covering for someone.
Yeah. I know a lot of people think that's absurd, but with all these questions we've got, I can't see it any other way.
Well, no matter what, law enforcement says that Brian acted alone. And in some regards, they're right. That's what they would have to say if you're going to frame someone, is you can only frame one person, because that's the only way it's going to work.
Yeah.
But that's the way they're coming at him. See, if there's people out there that think that, I think that Brian did it, but it's just not in that timeline. He had help. That's not going to work, because law enforcement says he did it alone. So you either are committed to believing that he did it and alone, or if you think there's multiple people, then that automatically means that you have to think two other people. One of them cannot include Brian. He's already out of the running. He has nothing to do with it if you think there's more than one person.
Yeah.
That's just how that works. If he did it, what's his motive? He would have had to have been paid. He doesn't do it just on a whim because he thinks he's smart or whatever these ridiculous theories that are out there. But if he was paid, they would know that, unless he was paid, I don't know, a farthing or something, right?
Yeah.
How much would it take to pay someone to do that?
You can never say never, but he doesn't strike me as a hitman.
No.
I just, I see him as kind of awkward. I can't imagine him pulling this off. I just can't. But that's just my thoughts. Sorry.
No, you go.
I was just going to say, just linking with the frats, and I'd link it with the 911 call, that did the surviving roommates not call 911 for that amount of time because they knew they had to get the frats and the sororities in first? Is it all linked? I think the frats and the sororities and calling 911, I think these frats and sorority houses are powerful. And I think that could well answer for the delay, that, they had to report this to their, what you call the head of Sigma, or the head of whichever sororities. I think, were they too frightened to call 911 because they had to let the frats and the sororities know first?
Maybe they were instructed to not call 911.
Yeah. In a nutshell. Thank you, Eddie. I was stumbling over my words there. Yeah, I think that could well be the case.
Yeah,
and
I just don't see.
Sorry.
You go ahead, Nellie.
I was just going to say, this sort of, I might be wrong, but this cleanup, I think in those hours before 911 was called, I think there were plans being put into place how they were going to deal with it, and that was why there was a time delay rather than a physical cleanup.
Yeah, I don't think they've acted of their own volition. They're not in charge of anything at that point.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, is it possible to get Brian Kohlberger set up for this? Can you get him driving around in the several weeks preceding this a dozen times? It seems like a pattern. Like when you talk about that pullover that happened think it was on the 21st of, what was it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was that August too? At any rate,
Yeah.
with the sheriff, and that was, I think, on the weekend as well. So is he doing something at night repeatedly when he has this moment in his schedule? Has he taken on this duty or this assignment unknowing that they're just putting him in this area, and he's got this pattern? It's just curious how they used these 12 pings against him.
Yeah. Because you think how many other phones pinged? You know, excuse
right.
me 1 second. You know, bear with me. My dog is right. Doris, come here. What are you doing? Sorry. What are you doing? Exploring the kitchen. Yeah, I think either he is this night owl that just goes for a drive. I don't think he can sleep. I think maybe his past addictions have perhaps made him an insomniac and he can't sleep. And he does go for night drives because we know he does his trash at night. A neighbour vouched for that. They could hear the all sorts going on in the apartment above, you know, vacuuming and all that sort of thing. Then we have the night runner who vouched that they'd go for late night runs. I think he is an insomniac, but that's just me piecing together things that we've heard. And like I said, how many other phone pings went off? How many other cars go driving around? I mean, it's a party town, isn't it? So there's going to be people up till all hours of the morning with phones pinging. So how they can narrow it down to one person in one car with his phone pinging, I don't know. Because there'll be so many others doing the same thing.
And that's not even circumstantial evidence.
No. I don't know. I just, like you said, you've got your list, Eddie, and I've got my list, and I bet we've all got our lists on everything that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And I don't even know when this trial's going to happen.
Yeah, I really don't think so. The list is, we could be titling the list many different things. Like it could even be titled, "Will we ever know?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Some things we just will never know. The 911 call, we're just never going to know.
So would they have to release that eventually, the 911 call?
No, I don't think they have to.
Okay.
Isn't there another case where these, and I forget the case, these 4 young girls burnt in a house. I don't even know the state where it happened, but that 911 call has never been released.
Was that Indiana? Has that been
Flora.
linked recently?
Yeah.
Linked to the Delphi case?
Indiana. Yeah, Heather. Flora.
But yes, yeah. Do you know, I just saw that the
Flora
other day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't know that hadn't been released.
Yeah, until that case, I never knew that they had the ability to not release a 911 call.
Yeah, I thought it was sort of public information eventually. You know, I can imagine why they perhaps hold it back at the beginning of an investigation. But I remember Fry saying that he say something near the beginning that it wasn't being released at the moment and that it might be shortly. This was right near the beginning, but it might impede the investigation. You know, I don't understand how it would at that point. That's why I'm curious about it, because, you know, if it happens the way they said it happened and Hunter Johnson made the call, I don't know, maybe he was a suspect initially.
Well, we don't know if he made that call.
No. No, we don't.
It's another one of those things that have come out, and it's just strange how that narrative just came out. It
Wouldn't they
started
find
with,
the-
I think, Ashley Banfield, that one. And then it grew legs. It just took off. And, you know, Daniel with the Drunk Turkey Show won't even say Hunter Johnson's name. He'll say Ethan's best friend.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting.
Well, who's Ethan's best friend? Well,
Could be anyone.
that's subjective. That's up to Ethan.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah. Yeah, very true. And I'm just thinking though, if because there are going to be cameras, aren't there, in the courtroom now?
Yeah, unless it's closed. Will they close portions? You know, maybe we'll see the opening statements, and then what? Closed from there forward?
I don't know, but I'm just wondering if they do keep them in the courtroom, won't they play the 911 call at trial? I'd have thought.
Well, that if they did that, if they played it during the trial, that would be when they close. We wouldn't be able to watch it on that day.
Right, yeah. It's going to be interesting. I can't even see this trial happening next year, to be honest.
I don't see it ever happening, to be honest.
You think
I'm an outlier, I know that, but I just can't see it happening.
Do you think it'll get thrown out? Do you think he will be exonerated then?
Thrown out, yeah, and I don't know by what means. I don't know what, I can't predict what would cause that, but it'll get thrown out, I believe, because they have nothing. You can't just bring an action like that against someone and then in the trial not be able to perform. You just can't.
Yeah.
What's the talking point for the prosecution? They have nothing against him, so that would be treacherous.
Yeah. Yeah.
You would just expose yourself. You'd set yourself up for trouble.
I've
if you're
seen
the prosecutor.
Yeah, exactly. I've seen people saying, actually they might, the prosecution are going to have a lot more. They might surprise. It'd be like trial by ambush. They're not allowed to do that, are they? They can't just ambush the defense with information that they haven't handed over. Am I correct?
And let me clarify. I'm not saying that that's the best for Brian. I'm not saying like, oh, that's a victory. If this gets dismissed, in no way am I saying that it's a win for the defense. That's a total loss for the defense. Like the Borg said,
Yeah.
he'll have to be proven innocent. There's people that will always see him guilty. If this gets dismissed, it's better than a conviction for the prosecution. Because in people's minds, he'll always be guilty. And then that'll be the end of it.
Yeah.
It'll always be, technicality. Ann Taylor, that dirty rascal, she got him off on a technicality. And he's walking, and there's the murderer. They can incite, they weaponize words like they do every day on the news.
Yeah.
They can incite one group of people against another. And that's what they'll do with him. If this gets dismissed, his life will be in danger. There'll be people who always think he's guilty. He needs to prove himself innocent. This should go to trial.
Yeah, I agree.
Then, of course, begs the question, well, why did Ann Taylor just, last week or so try to get it dismissed? Well, that's the cards that she has. She would be remiss of her duty if she didn't. That, you take any victory you can get, however small. And that was the right, I guess, legal maneuver that she had to play, I guess, when faced with what the prosecution had up to that point. brought against their client. Now,
Yeah.
that's another thing. No one's talking about that morning session that was closed. So I still wonder what became of that. No one's heard the result of that.
No, that's true. Can you hear me? Because I've frozen.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I can't highlight any comments, and I can't move. I can't, as you can see, my head's not moving. But if you can hear me, we'll carry on. So I'm sorry, guys. I can't highlight any other comments at the moment.
I think they could hear us, but I just typed in to ask them. So
yeah,
okay, everyone can hear us.
Okay, my screen's gone white at the minute.
But at any rate, I hope it goes to trial.
Here we are, I'm back. I don't know what happened there. Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying, Eddie. I think it would be absolutely terrible for Koberger if, like Borg said, he can't prove his innocence, or he doesn't get the chance to prove his innocence. But then I'm worried about the jury. I just think, what chance of a fair trial has he got? The grand jury have given me hope that 6 people wanted more evidence. But I still worry that he won't perhaps get jurors that are going to do their jobs properly.
Yeah, he's being denied due process. This discovery, denying someone their discovery violates his rights.
Yeah.
We have 10 now motions to compel. And I think there's a little bit of confusion about that. And I can't be 100% certain. I don't think it's like a child in the back of a car. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? I don't think it's like that. I don't think she's asking 10 times the same question. I think because each one comes with their own exhibit, we're up to exhibit I. I think these exhibits would lay out exactly specifically what she's looking for. So I would believe that these 10 motions to compel she's specifically asking for different things in each one of them. And that's just my guess, but I don't think it's just, being annoying and asking the same question over and over.
No, I do think she's asked for a couple of things more than once, though, hasn't she? And I think this DNA information has been withheld on more than one occasion, I think. But I don't know. I think she's asking for things they don't have. I don't even think they're keeping it back. I just think they don't have what they need to have for this case. I think it's not there.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, the most recent Zoom meeting that they had where Bill Thompson said, he doesn't want the court to be misled that there are things that exist that do not exist.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's going to muddy the waters. But Anne knows that they would have to exist. She knows that Bill is not the one withholding it, certainly.
Yeah, I agree with
but
that.
The defense knows something, and they need it. They want whatever it is that they know that the FBI has or should have. They probably don't. So here's the question: what happens when they don't get it come December 1st?
Interesting. Yeah.
What is the judge going to do?
There's got to be a point, hasn't there, where they look at the evidence in front of them and they know that's all there is. And then they think, well, it's a joke. It's not enough to take him. And, you think about the PCA, the probable cause, that's enough to arrest. It was enough to indict him, apparently. I can't imagine they brought out anything else that wasn't in the PCA at the grand jury indictment. At the hearing, I just can't imagine that there was any more, especially as 6 jurors asked for more information. So I just can't, like you said, if they then don't get this information and it doesn't exist, is that really all they've got? You know, it's such a puzzle how this can move forward to a trial.
Think of that. Is that all they got? These phone pings and this white car. Can it be proven that it's the white car, or is it a white car? And then this touch DNA on the sheath.
Yeah. Now that's the piece of I think that's the piece of evidence I think will be thrown out, and I think law enforcement knew it would be, which is why they covered their asses. You know, when they put forward the PCA, can we, you know, basically tell you that without this evidence, they needed to know that there was still probable cause if that evidence got thrown out. Sorry, I'm waffling. You know, they covered themselves, didn't they? We need to know that this PCA would still be accepted if the sheath is thrown out as evidence.
Now, let me ask you. Let me ask you and everyone that's listening, if you were a prosecutor and that's what you had, would you bring this suspect and get a warrant for his arrest and take him down SWAT style and indict him based on just that?
No.
Hell no.
No.
There's no way in hell I would do that. That's my reputation. That's my legacy.
I think Bill Thompson's going to go out on a bang.
He's going to dodge. There's a way for him to sidestep it. He's going to not end up being the one. He's going to pass the ball off to someone else because he's going to retire, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
He knew that going in.
He's treading water, isn't he?
Yeah, they bought him off.
Yeah.
There's a game plan. There's a script, and he knows he's safe.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, it's funny. He talks about this formal request process to get this, what the defense is looking for. You know, he wants to get it expedited, but it's a bureaucracy over there at the DOJ. It's just funny because it sounds like he's looking for excuses, not solutions.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great way to wrap this up, Eddie. Looking for excuses. That's perfect. I'm
Always
going to have
nice talking to you, Nellie. Thanks for having me up.
Panel. Thank you. And it's been a great live. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm sorry, it is
6 hours
in the morning here. And I've got school bags. I still haven't done the school bag and the swimwear and the football training kit for tomorrow after school. So it's one of those things, I'll do it afterwards. And I think, oh God, it's 1:30. I've got to get myself sorted. But thank you so much, Eddie, for coming up again. You're always welcome. Thank you to everybody for joining me. You know, my email is...
Good night, everybody. Good night, Nellie.
Thank you, Eddie. Good night. Pale and Beyond at gmail.com. If anyone wants to send me their thoughts, I always love to hear. I do get to them eventually. Can't even spell. Thank you so much to my mods. I'm still so excited that I've got mods. And welcome to Dinky, the new boy in blue. Thank you. You'll have to come up sometime, Dinky, and have a chat. And I'd love us all to, you know, for us here in the UK, it's now the 13th. Sending love to the victims' families. Rest in peace, Ethan, Sana, Maddie, and Kaylee. And let's all remember them. We remember them every day, I know, but it's a year. And yeah, they're in our thoughts. Take care. Thank you, everyone. Have a good Monday. I'm going to try and get some, I keep saying this, I'm working on it. I will get some creations out to you and we'll do another live. Actually, crazy, you did make it. I love seeing you all. Thank you so much. And catch you all again soon. Have a good Monday, guys. Take care. Bye.